Hello and welcome to Steve and Dave's Real Questions from Fictional Listeners. We have been doing this. This is going to be our fifth episode of this. We've been doing it whenever we had a chance to get together. That's not the case this time. This is a celebration of our hitting the magic 500 subscriber mark. So thanks to everybody who has subscribed.
Absolutely.
And we'll just jump right into it.
You bet.
You have a letter for us?
Yes, I do. I have a question here from Raphael Gordley. Raphael asks, in the wake of Aerosmith's retiring from touring, given that Steven Tyler has injured his vocal cords as the vocal cords are not responding to treatment, and we're not going to see Aerosmith on the road again. So Steve and Dave. So in the wake of all that, Steve and Dave, what three groups would you have liked to have seen but never got the chance to?
Boy, there's a list as long as my arm for me.
Is that right?
Sure.
Okay.
But off the top of my head, The Who, Bruce Springsteen, the E Street Band.
Okay, you would have a chance to still do that, but you haven't.
All right. So yeah, let's just talk about.
And even The Who, I guess. I don't really know.
Yeah, theoretically,
but I guess I know what you're saying, though. Yeah. The
right,
classic Who lineup.
Ones that are no longer available.
I think that's what Raphael's getting at.
Is there something from you?
Well, I mean, it's not a great out of the box answer, but it would have been interesting to see the Beatles in their prime. And by their prime, I mean, the height of Beatlemania.
After they started touring, stopped touring rather.
Well, no, I would have liked to have seen him. I would have liked to have been in a concert venue in 1963 or 1964. When just at the height of it, just to get a sense of that. You may not even be able to hear the band, but people. Well, Bob Geldof tells an amazing story about this. But
even the Hollywood Bowl, it was just screaming pandemonium.
Right. It's right. Yeah. I mean, John Landis talks about he went there with God, he went with Andrew Gold and somebody else and just said it was just you just couldn't hear anything. It was just, but I would like to have experienced that. I mean,
okay.
So that would be for me. That's one.
Ken Kesey went to the Hollywood Bowl with some of the pranksters, and the idea was that they were going to then go invite the Beatles back to the ranch. Right. That didn't happen. Kesey got really paranoid, just like really evil vibes and stuff like this. And Mountain Girl said, "Man, it's just a fucking concert." Chill. It's just a concert.
Well, the wisdom of Mountain Girl.
There you go.
So if you could, somebody who that you didn't get a chance to see, who's on that list for you?
The Eagles.
You still see them, but not at their peak.
Oh, come on. Do they still tour? I thought they had broken.
I think they're in Las Vegas as we speak. I think that they're. Yeah, but I mean, they're certainly winding it down. Okay, so I'm not gonna. Okay, didn't mean to harass you.
All right,
no.
How about
Eagles?
How about Fleetwood Mac? I think that's incontrovertible.
I think at this point, yeah, it's Fleetwood. Fleetwood Mac circa like 1977 or something like that. Have been
the Beach Boys. Well, the Beach Boys can still. Well, this is all. Yeah. But
I mean, yeah.
I'm talking about like the endless summer Beach Boys type of thing. That.
Oh well, sure.
Late 70s too. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay. I've always wanted to hear Joe Cocker, like the Mad Dogs and Englishmen. Joe Cocker, that had been amazing. Let me just throw another one out. I would have loved to have seen the band. At their sort of late 60s, early 70s peak. not the Last Waltz band, but the in
Really?
the wake of the Music from the Big Pink or the band LP. That would have been, those are a couple for me, just be amazing. Um, any female artist that
Well, I Janis Joplin is one that a lot of people
sure,
mention. Not would not be on my list. Just a little bit too much. Just a little bit too much blues.
a little too, yeah,
I mean, she had two or three songs I just think are absolute classics.
sure.
But beyond that, um, trying to think. I I'm a big Joan Jett fan, but she's still out there too. She's still out. Yeah.
She's still out there. She's still out there.
Um,
But yeah,
like a female solo act, or well, maybe Pat Benatar. Pat Benatar had really a pretty good show back in the day.
I think that's right. I think she did. I would just throw in Joni Mitchell, sort of 1960s, 1970s Joni Mitchell. I've just seen films of concert films and whatnot. Really
Yeah,
quite.
because she's definitely still out there too, and has even enjoying something of a
Well, in
revival
a sense,
moment.
yeah, that's right. It's an interesting question, and I think one that we're going to see. I mean, we're going to see more bands like Aerosmith just have to sort of give it up. And actually, it's kind of amazing that this hasn't happened more frequently. Um, you know, given the circumstances for a lot of bands. But anyway, so
Oh, and
yeah, Raphael,
before we're done with this, I should just take the opportunity to upset some listeners. Um,
oh, please do.
as we try to do every time. Um, I did not mention the Rolling Stones because they're still out there. I think they're one of the most overrated live bands
Oh my god. Oh,
uh,
come on.
out there. I just there are like a dozen live albums, three or four
Oh,
live films, and it's just none of it are like I'll sit down and I'll listen to the studio album. Thank you very much. I love that stuff. But
okay. Well,
seeing Mick Jagger out
mm,
there just jerking around, I don't need it.
okay. And with that, I would say that the Rolling Stones, Mick Taylor Rolling Stones. Um, I mean, I'm not suggesting I'd like to have been at Altamont, but no, thank you.
No.
But I hear you. I mean, it's something about the Stones in their prime would have been really amazing for sure. Although there are plenty of people who will tell you they're still a pretty solid live act, but you've taken your
Oh, I
stance
know.
there.
I know. Well, no doubt about it. A lot of people really love the Stones live. I just never understood it.
Okay, there, there we go. We'll just let that sit there for a second. Um, you have a question on your end from a
Yes.
fictional
Well,
listener.
Betty Black would like to know from each of us top five bubblegum hits.
Hits. Well, so we'll
Well,
define bubblegum.
as opposed to the deep cuts, what do you what?
Okay, well, all right. All right, we'll define bubblegum broadly. I mean, I guess you tell me.
Well,
What are the parameters here?
yeah, it's kind of
I mean, 70s, 60s, 70s time parameter. I don't
it's
know.
difficult. It's kind of a elastic, stretchy sort of thing, and
Oh, it is. I
you
think that's right.
start filling it with some content. All of a sudden, poof, you have nothing.
Oh, look at you. I see what you did there. That's pretty good. Spontaneous as well.
Yes, yes, of course.
Okay.
Um,
All
yeah,
right.
I think it's amorphous.
Well, okay. All right, let me do this. So I'll start. I think I love you from the Partridge Family. I'm going to call Partridge Family Bubblegum. I think I love you.
All right, yeah, that's I think that's definitely bubblegum. Most Partridge Family is bubblegum, if not all. and that's one of the greats, one of the all-time greats. Absolutely.
All right.
On my list too. I said that yes.
Oh, okay.
Uh, well, I guess monkeys are probably at least partially bubblegum, right? I mean,
Yeah, this is. Yeah, right. Partially bubble gum.
I think there's some that are legitimately like
Uh,
rock, so
oh,
Slippery Slow or something like that. It's
yeah, and it's some legit. Yes. So
um
with the monkeys,
all
what's a
right,
bubble gum?
but absolutely bubblegum. Daydream Believer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, and that's bubble gum,
and I like that one. So
and that's that's is that oh God, is that Neil Diamond who penned that? Who penned that?
Neil Diamond penned "I'm a Believer"
Daydream
of the
Believer.
Monkey. Uh,
Who do you know who wrote Daydream Believer?
oh
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to put you on the spot here.
no, but I did know that at one point.
Because Anne Murray did a version of it too. That's not something the monkeys. We'll have to. We'll look that up.
This was yeah, it was not one of the monkeys who wrote it. They wrote some of their own stuff, but that was not one of them. If I could hide.
Oh, it's is that a Boys and Heart? Maybe it's Boys and Heart.
It might be. It might be.
We'll leave it at that. Okay, another boy. Well, I love. I think it's 1910 Fruit Gum Company. Yummy, yummy.
Oh yeah, yummy, yummy. Definitely on the list. Well, I think probably our lists are going to be very similar because
I think that, or maybe that's Ohio Express.
Ohio,
Sugar. That's
Ohio Express, but that isn't that
it's all the same.
it's
I
all
think
the
it's
same,
like this.
right?
Yeah, it's yeah. I'm sorry. So you said did you say Archie's?
Archie's Sugar Sugar,
Sugar, sugar.
one of the all-time best bubblegum songs.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just so much fun.
Totally agree. How about oh, I just had it. Oh, I don't know if this is bubblegum, but it's Echo Valley from the Echo Valley 26809, 268 Partridge Family. Maybe it's too deep a cut
That's a
from
that's
Sound
that's a
Sound
too deep a
magazine.
cut for me from the Partridge
Oh, come
Family,
on.
and that's saying something.
I'm not even sure that's bubblegum. Okay. Gonna
Um, could list half a dozen other Partridge Family songs, but
oh yeah.
not familiar with that one. But what about songs like, for instance, um, "Downtown," Petula Clark? It's poppy.
I
It's kind of a
it's poppy. Yeah. It seems okay. So I would say that I would just push back slightly. Although I push back slightly, it seems as though bubblegum, part of bubblegum is also the nature. So either the band is invisible like a studio creation, or that are being pushed in front as a kind of teen idol.
all right,
And I don't know that
and the songs have to appeal to the kids, right?
they have to.
And
But
downtown is talking about some sort of single uh young adults, at least, not
yeah, there's a kind of yeah, right.
if you're alone and you're feeling so lonely, just you can always go downtown, and that's
It's
not something kids can do.
it's great. Petula Clark is she's in her 90s, and she was an experienced performer. I mean, a veteran, even in her heyday in the 60s. I didn't realize that how well. I didn't realize because she's so youthful, but yeah, she was a pro's pro when she was putting those things together.
I
I
saw one of
figured
her performances of downtown um, for some variety show, and it wasn't canned, and it was just great. It was just
she's
energy and
oh she's great. She's the real deal, and yeah, amazing. I think an amazing performer and vocalist in a way. The I figured you'd have some Bobby Sherman.
oh, Bobby Sherman. Let's see. There's "Cried Like a Baby." What else could there be? He had one other big hit.
Julie, right?
Judy, do you love me?
Or
Yes.
Julie. I don't know, one of those. Yes.
Julie. I think it is Julie. Sorry.
Bobby.
Truly,
I'm a little
truly
young for Bobby Sherman, but yeah, Bobby Sherman.
there was that
Julia,
crossover of Partridge Family and Bobby Sherman.
yeah, that's this. In
That's
fact,
one
they
of the
had
great
that.
traumas of my childhood.
They
All right.
they tried to get that. I think the same production company tried to get that Sherman sitcom off the ground, getting together
Was
in
this
the
where
early
he was part of a songwriting
Yes, a Boys and
songwriting
Heart
team?
knockoff deal. Yes, talk about things that, yeah,
That
I
just
mean,
didn't go anywhere.
it
Yeah.
didn't go anywhere. I would also have thought that you would have had a DeFranco family because there was a time when Tony DeFranco, Heartbeat, Love Beat, no,
No, no.
all right. Well, I might be bubble gummed out at this point, but if you have another one,
I don't know what did Leaf Garrett sing back,
oh
or Sean Cassidy, or
yes, yeah, no,
those
you're
guys.
right. Yeah, those guys. This is the thing. I think that the bubblegum piece, it's a surprisingly good question. I do think that there is this kind of multimedia aspect to it, right? That you are being put on some sort of kind of little teeny bopper pedestal.
Sure.
That's part of the gig.
Yeah,
Um,
you're going to appear on the title beat cover. That's for
exactly,
sure.
Tiger Beat cover. So, all right. Well, so I got a completely different direction from
Okay.
Sarah McIntosh. Sarah McIntosh writes she knows that um, we're she knows we're both really big Nixon fans. I don't know if fans is the right word, aficionados. I don't even know what exactly. But Sarah asks, we're approaching the 50th anniversary of Nixon resigning, and she mentions that I believe on August 7th, you had three members of the Republican congressional contingent come to the White House. One of them was
That's so
Barry
strange.
Goldwater.
That's exactly 50 years ago. Exactly
Just yeah,
50
I
years
think it's
ago.
exactly today. Yeah, and she goes, "So what if you would have been part of that contingent? Um, what would you have advised Nixon?" So you are so right. So you're going to meet with Nixon. You're part of the Senate, part of the House. You know the kind of what's happening on Capitol Hill. What would you have told him?
Well, you've got Barry Goldwater there. I think you let him play the bad cop, and I just, I'd probably leave my advice for the very end. And say, okay, when you resign and you leave the White House, try to strike a somber attitude. No waving victory signs and smiling broadly. Don't do
Which
that.
he
That
which
won't.
he didn't do, but yeah,
Well,
he
he
sort of
did.
did.
He certainly did.
Up on the as he got onto the helicopter, yeah,
Smiling and yeah. So don't do that.
defiantly.
Don't do
Don't
that.
do that. Um, I might have I might have had him fight. I think
Well,
it would. Yes, I think. Um,
well, you would not have been taken along then on that particular
I would
errand.
have said, I would have said that I think the votes are probably there for. I think the votes were definitely there for impeachment in the House. I don't think there's a question about that. Um, and maybe for conviction in the Senate, but maybe conviction. I would have wondered had the Senate have actually gone that route. Would the Senate have actually convicted? And it seems, well, I mean, everything is retrospective, but it's we've never done it, and I think I might have advised him, if you really think you can weather the storm, if you think you can sort of want to see this out, um, you should fight it if that's what you want to do, if that's in your heart. I don't know that it would have been necessarily the best thing for the country. I don't know. But I mean, I think that would have at least sort of put that on the table. I think it's unlikely. Well, I don't think it's unlikely. I think it's not a given that the Senate would have voted to convict. So I might
Well,
have suggested that.
I think the mood in the country was so vicious at the
Oh, there's no doubt about
that
that.
I don't think you could have voted not to convict and survive that politically.
Um, that's Yes, Dave, I think that that's absolutely a possibility there. I do think, though, that given um, the nature of the Senate, you could have maybe outlasted it. So, that vote. So if you're not up for reelection, you could be 2 cycles away from that. I mean, I just think if you had the
But
stomach to fight, you
even
could have.
Art,
I think you could have fought.
Art, is that really the hill you want to die on? I mean, the man
I
obviously
don't know.
uh,
Yes.
did something to the office of the presidency that was, well, if not unprecedented, certainly um, undesirable.
Well,
Highest
there's
grade.
no disputing that, and I think the tapes were incredibly jarring to that point, because we were still, I mean, we were just learning about the tapes 50 years ago, the summer of '74, and it was like jaw dropping. Still, I think it's, to suggest that it was a fait accompli and that, the Senate would have just, I'm not certain. And so if I might have told the old man, if you had the stomach to fight,
Well, you might have
stick it
been
out.
one of the few people then that was invited to California to visit afterwards.
Well, right. And it could be,
So
maybe
San Marino,
yes,
is that was that his place?
San Clemente.
San
I
Clemente.
could have been San Clemente, yeah, with
Yeah.
Nixon in his Bermuda shorts and his metal detector. The Yeah, maybe that's. You wonder though. You just wonder. Yeah. Oh, what
Yeah,
a time.
I think the message has to be, man, you fucked up and now you've got to take the
All
consequences.
right. Well, fair enough. Okay. Um,
Take one
so
for the team.
take one for the team. You have another question on your end.
Well, I think we've had most of
I got
the
I got
people.
one more.
All
I
right,
got one
here.
more from the mail bin. This is from Helen Kim, and Helen writes, Stephen Dave, if you could serve as a vice president for any American president, I guess any American president from the beginning of the country, who would it have been? So if you could have been vice president for who would it have been and why?
Why don't you go first with this one?
Well, I think about this a little bit. And I initially thought about being the VP for Polk in the 1840s.
Because
Polk is the person. Polk is the person who ginned up the war with Mexico. Basically, created. Polk is largely responsible for the border crisis that precipitated the war, which precipitated the invasion, which precipitated the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, which precipitated in the purchase of a third of the western part of the United States. It'd have been really interesting to see how that all kind of happened, because it seemed as large or as unbridled a kind of power grab ever. I mean, it's really something. But I think, really, I think I would have been most interested in having been uh, Lyndon Johnson's vice president.
no, but
Oh, sorry.
go back to Polk for a second.
Yes,
You want to
please.
be his vice president, certainly not because you thought that was a great thing that he was doing.
If you bring in you bring in a 21st century sensibility. No, it's not a great thing. It's horrendous.
Well, all right. What would your role have been as his vice president then?
Well, I think I would have tried to talk him out of it somehow. I mean, I like to think that. But to have a seat at the table where this naked power grab is going down it's astounding. And I like to think that I could have had some influence in terms of, as vice president, in terms of how this war, even if the war went down, how the peace treaty was negotiated. Because in the end, this Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo of 1848, which then for $15 million, the United States purchases California and Nevada and Utah, and I mean everything, basically the West. If it could have been adjudicated in a different kind of way, it could have preserved the territorial integrity of Mexico and still allowed the United States to expand. I mean, I just think it seems like as though it was such an egregious thing. But you'd wonder if you could have kind of finessed this in such a way. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess this is like now time travel. I mean, it's whatever. But yeah, I like to think that I could have.
Well, it's the nature of the question.
Persuaded. Yeah, but I mean, when push comes to shove, I want to be there in Johnson's White House in 64, 65, 66. I want to be there during the formation of the Great Society, and I want to be there. The Gulf of Tonkin. I want to, I think I want to be there to try to talk him out of not running. To get out of Vietnam and to hold on to the Great Society, that would have been the thing I really pushed for as vice president. I really would have, because he had the most ambitious domestic agenda apart from FDR in the 20th century. And he just, it's like he lost it all or lost much of it because of this obsession with Vietnam. My God, you got to, if you could somehow convinced him, I mean, that would have been fascinating.
And I have to wonder if he had been able to concentrate on the Great Society, if the Vietnam thing wasn't even going on, for instance, would he be able to make enough inroads and provide enough hope for the inner cities?
Yes,
that whole thing, the summer of the riots and so on,
right? The explosion of been avoided. Yes, right. I just think that there are so many what ifs with the Johnson administration, that if you could have been there as a VP with influence, that would be the place to be. What about you? So what do you think? So you could serve as somebody's VP and maybe,
well, I
do a little.
I think Barack Obama always, in addition to being considered the smartest man in the room, also kind of bought into that. I think he thought he was the smartest guy in the room, and as such, may have been a little bit resistance to consultation. But I would have liked to try to get him to recognize earlier on in his administration that this is not the Republican Party to reach across the aisle to. Bipartisanship is a wonderful thing if both teams are playing it. But if that's not happening, you have to realize it and you have to just do what you can without, and not waste time and waste political capital on pipe dreams of bipartisanship.
So this notion, okay. So would you have encouraged Obama to be a bit more assertive when it came to healthcare?
I think that was the one thing that worked, actually.
I think it is. Yeah. Well, it's sort of, yeah.
Well, possibly. I mean,
largely
that's a matter of hindsight too. I think there was a lot of watering down of that plan in order to get Republicans on board that in the end didn't get Republicans on board. And so why even go there? Why not just keep your plan and push it through?
It strikes me that well, I don't know. This is so I never really had a sense of what Obama wanted to accomplish beyond healthcare. And maybe you have a better sense of this. But
the one thing that I really admired about him was that he talked a really good talk. He acted like, you listen to Obama's speeches, and he acted like he knew what progressivism was about and why it was important.
Well, sure. Oh, I totally agree. Yeah. Gifted in that way.
But then the actual real politics of that just kind of dissipated. The other thing I would have done with him is say, all right, this is your Supreme Court nomination. You do what it takes to get it through. If they're not playing ball, you show them what hardball is. This is your nomination. you're going to put that person in. Period. All right. They're going to try their bullshit. That's fine. But you're not without power. So let's do this. That would have been
okay. Well, that's interesting. All right. Yeah. That's the advice he needed at the time. It's which is interesting given, he was not an experienced legislator. I think it's more just a kind of personal trait.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a hell of a good question. Yes. And the VP thing in recent years, of course, has become it's become magnified for a lot of reasons. Oh, yeah. And so, thanks, Helen, for that. So I think that's it for our questions.
Well, and this round of questions really gave the wonks among our subscribers
something to. There we go. So we would like to thank everyone for all of your support over the past 4.5 years. And again, as Dave noted a second ago, 500 subscribers. We're thrilled, and we wanted to celebrate it in some sort of way. So, Dave, why don't you take us home?
All right. If you enjoyed this video, and we hope you did, you can subscribe right here. We're going to have a little bubblegum playlist for you that you can watch right here. And you can watch another Steve and Dave's Real Questions from fictitious listeners.
Or fictional listeners.
Fictional listeners. That's it.
Yeah.
Right up here.
Okay, very good. And so until next time, we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.